Let's go.
Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be talking about Couples Therapy, Season 4, Episode 5.
Listen, I need y'all to subscribe, like, share, comment. We are working our way through this whole season. You ready, Blair?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
So we start with Elíana and Mitch.
Oh, my goodness.
They did the experiment.
Okay.
So Mitch said that it had a positive effect on Eliana's demeanor, and his presence actually makes her happy. And when she's happy, he's happy.
Hey, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back, buddy.
But the bitter part is that his continuous presence has had an effect on their child Law. He has started biting.
Oh, my goodness.
And pretty much Orna is saying this is a kind of like an Oedipus situation to where mommy's mine and you're my competition. Mm-hmm. So Orna says that, or before we move on, any comments about them doing the experiment and then working out?
I wasn't expecting it to work. I don't expect it to still work.
Okay.
Because I don't believe in Mitch. Right? I don't believe in Mitch. I don't believe that he's pure in his intentions on wanting to resolve. I think, and granted, I'm not trying to absolve the woman in this relationship and things like that. But at the same time, I think when it comes to Mitch and things like that, I think it's going to be a long process of him being a father and him being a good partner. Okay. That's what I believe.
Yeah, my only thoughts are I'm glad that they did it and they stuck it through and they got to see a different outcome than they probably would have thought would have happened.
That's true.
So maybe that can shift the paradigm a little bit.
That's true.
Orna says that the counter transference with Alexes and Casimar has been strong between her and them. She even emailed them where she says, I usually don't do.
Wow.
They've developed different paradigms to get through their trauma. Casimar tries to keep the peace. Alexes cuts everything off. There is something perfectly fitting and perfectly triggering about their traumas. So we meet with Alexes and Casimar. Casimar says Alexes left the last session and doesn't know why they're doing this, and he's tired of this cycle.
Yeah, now the way that he explained it, he basically was like, the person that you see here is not the person that, like, he stops being that person the minute we walk through that door.
Yeah, right? Like he's just like, this is dumb.
Yeah, exactly. So this whole let's write a book together and all that stuff, in a way, it's for show, right? Because the minute we get in the car, I'm getting basically yelled at about why are we doing this? Let's stop this. What's the point of this? And things of that nature. And like, you know, I think Alexes is, I think they call it this. I think it's called disassociate or something like that. Dissociate. When you do it enough times, in my opinion, right? I think if you're on the other end of that, it's kind of hard for you to see that as two people. Eventually, you see it as Alexes is hurting me more than like his alter self. You get what I'm saying? His trauma. It's like y'all are one. Yeah. Because you can't even know when you tap into it. So it's like you could just be talking to me regularly, then all of a sudden you yelling at me and breaking my glasses. Yeah. You so like I think it's starting to merge now to where it's like now it comes off as if it's one person.
Yeah. So in their relationship, when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's devastating. Yeah. Casimar says in the realm of trauma, like it's something that he's still learning. He's like, it's like you can't do certain things because one person is going through something. And he compares it to a roller coaster and how he approaches it like, okay, well, if you want to go to a roller coaster and I'm afraid of it, I'll tell you that's fine. Do what you want to do. Have fun. I'm just not going to partake. But he feels that with some people, Alexes, you know, it'll be more so of, well, I don't feel comfortable going on a roller coaster, so you can't go on a roller coaster. And by you going on a roller coaster, it upsets me. Yeah. So Alexes wants to just end that whole comparison conversation because you're comparing multiple years of essay to a roller coaster and it's insulting. Yeah. He's saying like, you just can't say this in front of me. And honestly, that's what Casimar is trying to say being played out in front of him at the moment.
Yeah. And just, and truth be told, it's like what Orna said. It's like, it's the perfect traumas that they both have. And just to use the word that Alexes used, because he didn't say essay, he used grape, right? Yeah. So that word puts an image in your head, right? So
violence.
Yes, exactly, right? So he sees his trauma, talk about Alexes, as something that he had to it was life or death. I could have died. You get what I'm saying? And I survived it, right? And because of the intensity, and I'm not trying to take away from anybody's trauma, because of the intensity of what Alexes had to go through, he's like, man, you over here talking about amusement parks. You over here talking about like this is not just me just feeling depressed one day.
Yeah.
This is not just me feeling paralyzed. This is not ADHD. This is not chemical imbalances in my head in that way.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I remember, or at least I'm putting words in his head, that I remember a time where I wasn't like this.
Yeah.
Right? And something happened to me, and I don't know what happened to me that makes me be the way I am now.
Yeah.
And and it's a constant battle with this, you know? So when he used that word, it did put an image in my head of like, oh, okay. Okay. Like this just wasn't just something that was SA and things like that. It was that vicious word and that vicious image. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I guess for me, I'm just like, Alexes, this is why I say Alexes isn't really, I feel like, in a spot where he is ready for a relationship.
You're right.
Because Casimar is trying to understand and he's trying to verbalize the best way he can. So even if it's coming across as insulting to you, he's trying to wrap his head around how can I be there and love somebody going through this. And Alexes doesn't have the space to allow Casimar to do that in his way.
You're right.
Because Alexes is kind of, at least how I'm seeing it, of you don't know what I've been through. You don't know how it affects me and all this type of stuff. And Casimar is like, I'm trying. But Alexes is like, you'll never know because it never happened to you or this didn't happen to you in this way. So you don't get it. And it's just like, well, there's no reconciliation and moving on from that point. So I think that Alexes really needs to do the inner work first.
You know what this remind me of? I don't know if y'all watched this show called The Never Ever Mets. I do not suggest it. Don't watch it, right? But there's this person on there named Millie, right? And she was SA, right? And she was in a therapy session with her boyfriend or like the person that she was dating. And the therapist asked the boyfriend basically like, you know, what's going on with you? Because you kind of zoned out while we was talking about her experience. And he said, I have something to share as well. That like, you know, I also am a victim of that, of someone violating me in that way as well. And she kind of was like, oh, we got to hear about your story and things like that.
Yeah.
I see the similarities in it, to your point, Blair, to where Casimar is saying, how can I help you through this? How can I love you through this? And Alexes, in his way of saying it, without saying it, is, okay, one way you can help me, never talk about your trauma. You're like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Because even though it may not be to the level or to the intensity of your trauma, it's still real to me as real as it is to you. And it
affects me day to day as it affects you.
So it doesn't matter if he's like saying, how can I love you through this? Help me help you. You get what I'm saying? The minute that Casimar talks about himself in any way or his trauma or what he struggled through, that kind of cancels away of like why are we talking about you?
Yeah, I mean, Alexes, like I said before, like I feel like Alexes really doesn't have any empathy for Casimar. Like Casimar will be depressed laying in the bed, and Alexes be like, I don't have the luxury to be lazy.
See?
And it's just like, well, dang.
See?
He's depressed in the bed, Alexes. Like
he ran into the bathroom.
Well, Orna says, you know, Casimar is trying to tell you how he's trying to be a better partner.
Yeah.
When we get here about trauma, like what else can you do to maybe take a time out? Alexes says that when Casimar reaches his limit, it feels, or he stabs Alexes because he's hurt and he wants Alexes to hurt, is what Alexes says. And basically, like, Casimar lashes out, not actual, like, stabbing.
Okay, I'm about to say, I was lost a little bit.
Orna says, can you say that I need time? And Alexes says sometimes he's thinking so fast and he is paralyzed. And the only way for him to get unparalyzed is to be angry or to be mean or to have a drink. Casimar says that I don't want to leave you, but if we can't walk together in this, like, I will. He's hurt enough in trying to love and understand Alexes, and he can't outlove the trauma. But he thought that that's what he could do once he got into this relationship.
Yeah.
Alexes is scared that it's not possible and that he might be too broken.
And here's where Casimar kind of fell into this trap or what Orna almost fell into the trap of, the savior complex. Wanting to be like, I just want to save them because I see kids and things like that. And maybe you wanted to, maybe at one point it was good, because they said when it's good, it's great, it's amazing. You seen pictures of them like in Paris and things like that. But then when it's bad, then every now and then we kind of use the good times to justify the bad of like, oh, but when it's good, it's good. And maybe I can love him out of this more than what he's saying now, in the sense of like, I have to leave.
Yeah.
Because you're not equipped to function in a relationship, you know? So, yeah.
And honestly, as much as, how do I say it? I'm glad that Alexes feels that he's too broken for this. And the reason why I say that is because with him realizing that, maybe he can actually take the efforts to mend his, just his being and take it seriously to actually fix himself. Because if he does want to have successful, a fruitful relationship and a family and all these things in life, then I think you kind of do have to start at rock bottom with where you're at, and to be real with yourself that, yeah, I'm a mess. Nobody's going to be able to deal with this. And let me work on it. Yeah. And I'm hoping that Alexes will. But just like Casimar said at the beginning, he's just like, Alexes thinks this is dumb. Yeah. So I don't know if Alexes, knowing that he's a mess, is actually going to push him to not be a mess. But I hope that with that realization, it makes him want to change. Yeah. So moving on to Rex and Joey.
Yeah.
Joey says, God is the being of who she is. There is no her without being a Christian. And it's how she survived through life. Rex was introduced to Christianity through Joey. He thought he was an atheist at first. He started practicing Buddhism before they met, but she forced Christianity on him, saying that Buddhism was of the devil, and he slowly converted to Christianity. Okay. And Joey wants to make the clarification that she didn't force him. Okay, let's hold our horses. She's like, I didn't force you to be a Christian. It was just a prerequisite to be with me, that she wanted to be in a relationship with a Christian man.
Okay.
And she says that, we just can't coexist with having different values and belief systems.
Do you believe her?
I think I believe her, yes. I believe that that is true for her. Not for everybody. I think some people can coexist and be in a family with people with different belief systems. But I think for Joey, that wasn't going to be able to be true for her, especially with the mamas that she has.
Yeah, I meant specifically, do you believe that she didn't force him?
Oh, that she didn't force him? It's kind of gray area, because I'm like, because do I think that she forced him? No, but I also think Rex was just like, well, I want to be with her, so I really have no other option.
Yeah, the reason why I can say that that it wasn't the way that she described it, because I'm like, if it was that serious to you, why even start a relationship with an atheist then?
Yeah. But I think that goes back into conversations that we've had, or at least my thought process of actually getting to know that the person you're dating, because it's like you get to know somebody and you like certain parts of them, but then you want to change who they are at their core. And it's just like, so you're not really getting to know and falling in love with this person. You have a person here that you want to fit into your mold. And it's just like, that's not fair to have a genuine, true relationship if you're not allowing the person to be who they are fully. Like, I just don't think that's fair.
Yeah. So that's why I think she kind of telling a fib, not a lie. Just a little,
just a little one,
just a fib about like, I didn't force him to be a Christian. I just gave him a, like, this is my thing. I was like, well, if that's the case, why do you start talking to me? You know what I'm saying? You could have went to Christian Mingle,
exactly,
and found a Christian.
That's somebody at the church or something. Rex thought they could have made it work with his Chinese traditions and Buddhism. Joey says that they get into it, and she explains why the tradition was an issue for her. Yeah. So there's a Chinese tradition called Baisan. They will pray at their ancestor's grave, and if he accepted Jesus, how can you believe something that conflicts with that? Okay. She wasn't aware that it was still an issue as far as the religion situation. She's just like, you go to church. We saw in one clip he was raising his hand like, you're Christian, so why are we even talking about this? And Orna says, well, we're talking about it because I brought it up, and also because we really want to know how Rex feels, because Rex will tell us he feels nothing.
I'm about to say.
So we need to know how Rex feels about things, just anything, honestly.
And this was part of his life, Joey.
Yes.
Like, have some interest in his life, even if you don't agree with the practices he was doing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Rex says, look, Bison is once a year. And he was like, my family, it wasn't this big, like, religious, spiritual situation for us. We would go to the grave, leave flowers, say hi, thank you for your covering and watching over us. And then you just leave. He was like, it wasn't that deep to me.
Yeah. And I actually believe him with that.
And Joey is saying, but the roots are religious, though. Like, you were just going about it and going about the tradition, but there's actually religious roots to it. And Orna says, okay, well, let's pause. Let's talk about mothers. Joey's mom is very much against those things other than Christianity.
Yeah.
Her whole life, she wants to do what makes God happy and what makes God proud of her.
Yeah. And she specifically said, my father. I wanted to do what makes my father proud.
Which is God, her spiritual father. Yeah. Now, Orna, we see her talking to her colleagues, which is such like a great, like, aspect of the show that I like, is to see her brainstorm with other colleagues. And she is talking about how she's out of her element with religion because she was raised secular. So one of her colleagues explains to her that the relationship with God is really like above a parent, because at first she's like, it seems kind of incestuous, like God is taking the place of her husband. Like, that's kind of how she was understanding it. And the colleague was just like, no, it's like above a parent. And for the Korean church, that was Joey's mother's community as an immigrant. Like, those were her people. And this is something that Joey can share with her mom and still feel connected with her by being a part of the church and making sure that this is a center of her life and her partner's life. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Is that the end of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Me being raised Christian and is a Christian and things like that. Her intention may be Christianity. Her intention may be God. Her intention may be Jesus. You get what I'm saying? But she's in a cult. This is what happens when you take religion and you make it so much of the center of where it's all works. And it's like, oh, yeah, you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do this. You make it legalistic.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right. And that's what Christianity actually is not about.
No, it's about it's about relationship. That's what Buddhism is about, and all the other stuff, all the other religions, to where it's like, if you're a good person, if you're this, then you will have this reward and things like that. And my thing is, I don't think she's intentionally operating in the functionality of a cult. But when you have your mother, right, and you kind of idolize what your mother think and you idolize what your mother feel and things like that, even though, like, I understand you are an immigrant and that is your form of community, you kind of exalt that over your own thoughts. You don't even know how you really feel about things. Yeah. Because you've been indoctrinated to feel this way. So many times than not, Rex can say, I don't feel nothing. And we know he's lying or basically like he's suppressing. But when Joey, we can't even believe what she feels because we can't even trace back the source of why she feels this way. Right. Because that's what happened when you've been indoctrinated. You feel like it always been this way and you really never had the freedom to choose. Right. You get what I'm saying? Think for yourself. Exactly, right? And that's what Christianity is about. It's about the freedom to choose. Hey, are you going to do it or are you not, right? And the thing that was to, Dad, just to give a little background of Christianity, right? Even though the roots of what Rex was doing was religious, that's true, and if you are a believer of God or other religions, you may feel like there's a spiritual tie to it, but I really feel like Rex was just doing it out of habit. I think he was following the tradition of it more than the actual meaning of it.
Yeah, more so a cultural thing. Like, say we have I don't know if it's a good comparison, but to me it's like we throw something on a grill of 4th of July. I feel like that's in Rex's mind the same comparison. This is the holiday, we go to the grave at the holiday. Yeah, like so because at the end of the day he grew up atheist. He chose to be an atheist. So in that decision of his, he chose not to believe in anything. Yeah, and even in his non-belief, he still went about doing the tradition out of respect for his family. And I kind of look at it the same way. If he's going about the tradition of church and praying, because we saw him praying over his food and all this type of stuff, and respect for Joey. But I don't even know if he believes what he's doing.
I don't even know if he really believes he's a Christian.
Right.
He's just like, he's
like, I have to do this so she'll believe me.
Yeah, like he's doing it out of like, hey, I did this out of respect for my tradition, for my family. And okay, we get flowers, we put it on the grave site, we say thank you, and then he don't think about it for a whole year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He could be doing the exact same thing. You may think he's a Christian.
Yeah, and you're just thinking like, wow, I got me a good Christian man now and all this type of stuff. And he's just like, I'm just doing whatever you want me to do to make you happy. And because I love you and I just want to be with you.
And I'm not even saying that to basically seem like he's a bad person. He could just be respectable.
And I think he really loves her, and he really wants to make her happy and be with her and to live this life together. But I also think that Joey doesn't give him the room to be himself.
Exactly.
Like, it's not good enough, you know?
And that's the thing that sucks, because you can kind of hear it in what he's saying. Yeah. Because if he really, truly wanted to be a Christian and is a Christian, if you was to like paint it that way, he wouldn't start off the whole conversation with, well, she kind of forced me into this. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? The fact that he said that, he's kind of like, hey, even though I'm a Christian now and I converted, I see some benefits of it, but I wouldn't have chose this. Yeah. If I didn't have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man. So we move on to Aaron, Josh, and Lorena. This was a doozy of a story that actually like unlocked a lot of information and understanding, at least for me.
Help me.
So we learn about the fire story. So Josh is explaining that when he was in college, 10 of his friends wanted to make s'mores. So they live in some area to where they can walk out, you know, it was a big forest, and they could start a fire to make s'mores. They stomped the fire out, they put it out, put water on it, everything was cool. The next day, they saw smoke coming from the same area where they had their s'mores, and it ended up burning down 2,000 acres of land.
That's a lot of land,
215 homes, and the fire went on for 6 days. He was interrogated by police. The fire marshal said at first that, well, you know what? Y'all did everything you were supposed to do. You did it in a safe area. You put the fire out. Like, this really has nothing to do with y'all. They ended up interrogating everyone who was involved, the 10 friends. And then there was a press release that was done that said that they were all responsible for the fire. After their names were released to the public, they went through criminal court proceedings. The DA said that there was not enough evidence to prove they were responsible, but it did pretty much F them over because the civil suits had just started and they had a different standard of guilt. So it really was the irresponsibility of the police department that ruined their lives. He felt terrible because he jeopardized 9 of his friends. And there were also 3 Middle Eastern friends involved that he was really scared about, that they could be kicked out of the country. And there was also terrorism in question where he was being asked, you know, did they want to burn down the USA?
Yeah.
So he tried to take as much responsibility as possible. The civil cases proceeded, and he was basically sued for millions of dollars. He stopped talking to all the people involved because there was a trickle-down effect of families and discourse and all this stuff going on, to the point with his family, he was kicked out of his house. And Orna says, so then, you know, you talk a lot about blame, and that explains a lot when you're having conversations about who is in the wrong, or you even taking responsibility for things. So Lorena says, like, you orient around blame and taking full accountability when you feel angry or hurt. Her apologies are meaningless to him. It feels unsalvageable. Orna says that there's a lot of history along with the blame, and it can make you prone to make those big questions of who's loyal and who is at blame. Yeah. Orna says that he was thrown under the bus because a town needed a villain, and he was being isolated. Every transgression in his partners, it's like the fire situation gets put into these relationships of basically like,
he's just reliving that.
He's reliving that situation and having to basically be on the stand and taking accountability for his stuff. And then in turn, at least this is how I see it, he's putting his partners on the stand of when he feels like they've done wrong. And an apology doesn't cut it. apology doesn't cut it.
No. Also saying the coupon ran out doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Oh, I thought we talked about it. You still cheated on me. Sorry doesn't cut it. So a lot has happened, and even though this may seem kind of cold, empathetic towards Josh, this still doesn't make me think this relationship can work.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, now I get to learn about the person. And even Josh, this is probably the most emotional he's been to this point. But and to this point of the series, I think we only on episode 5, right? This 5. But I don't see how, if one person who is Aaron is not even being open to her family about her relationship status or her preferences in relationships, right? And the other one is scared of the future, right?
Yeah.
I don't see how, like, you coming to terms that this happened to you and you wasn't the cause of this, Josh, is going to fix your problems.
And that's what I'm thinking, that Josh's trauma doesn't trump everyone else's trauma. I feel like in the Alexes and Casimar situation, how Alexes responds to his trauma, it definitely trumps Casimar, because you just don't give a doggone about Casimar and his feelings. But Josh, although he's trying to be empathetic to them, he's still dealing with this. But they also each have their own issues that I feel like it's just too many issues to work through in a relationship. Yeah. So.
And Josh just feels like, for one, he feel like he was lied to, because the people are like, oh yeah, it's gonna be all good. We just go ahead, just write down a story. The next thing you know, they getting charged. Yeah. So there is a feeling of of betrayal, of isolation, all these things that, yes, the fire may have caused this, but these are still real feelings that can mess with your mind. Isolation, betrayal, grief, regret. You get what I'm saying? All these things, even questioning things. He's like, I know when we put the fire out. Yeah. He said we put water on it and everything. So it's kind of, now it's to the point of like, did someone set me up? Like it's a lot of things that's still in limbo that you have to bear the weight of all of that. Yeah. And it just seemed like even then, justice to everybody else may have been served, because we gonna sue you and things like that. But to him, he's like, I didn't do anything, and justice was never served on my end. Right. And I'm just seeing repeat of that, where I'm always like the one that get the short end of the stick. Like, I'm over here trying to tell you not to sleep with Johnny, you sleep with Johnny, and I'm just like, okay. You over here, like, it just, like, you said you wanted to plan a date and I let you do it. Then you say I ain't want to talk to you and tell you that the coupon was really like expired. So he's just like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Yeah. And I had to deal with a fire that burned down houses and put people out of commission and things like that. And y'all can't even set up a date. You can't even like have some discipline and some self-control. So of course he viewed them as less than in those situations and can't see past the transgressions themselves. Right. And that's it. Anything else? That's all I got. Listen here, we are working our way through this. Stay with us. We will be back with more couples therapy. Y'all be good. Bye.